What's something that you love, but you hate the fanbase? Reddit. I have a great time with my curated subreddits and communities. But damn, I hate admitting I'm on Reddit. Anime. I really love this medium, but the community can be very toxic and immature sometimes. People have literally sent death threats to anime voice actors all because they really hated the characters that they voiced. People who have read the manga or light novel of an anime often act very condescending to those who are anime only. Some would even ridicule others just for watching anime in dub instead of sub and vice versa. I remember overhearing this guy at an anime convention telling this girl she was cosplaying the worst character of a show and all she said was, "Please go away." It was so awkward that even I felt it, just being someone passing by. For the most part, the people I've met have been great, but dang, some fans really fit that toxic anime fan stereotype. Running. I've been a fairly competitive runner for literally half my life now, started at 12, now 24, so I like to think I know what I'm doing. The second I talk to any other runner, it seems like they try to go out of their way to make me feel stupid about the way I train, the shoes I use, the way I stretch, the gear I don't have, as if you need literally anything but shoes and shorts. Similarly, I hate when know-it-all runners tell first-timers exactly what they should do after talking to them for 30 seconds. Inevitably, the know-it-alls end up telling their own story. One of my favorite things about running is figuring out what works for me and what doesn't. I love Japan, I lived there, but even saying this love will give an impression that you're a weeb. There's also quite a disturbing group who hails Japan as something perfect. It has its own flaws and problems, and in fact I don't want to live there again, just occasional visiting would be grand. Every country has flaws from Switzerland to Japan. Apparently anything after I visit its respective subreddit. Most YouTubers, especially Dream, maybe PewDiePie to an extent as well. The Office. I started watching it and loved it, but there's all of these The Office lifestyle type of people and it gets annoying. I feel like there's a divide between the people who like the earlier gritty, relatable episodes and the people who like the quirky, feel-good, everybody but Toby has a happy ending, ones that came later. For the latter especially, people can get really attached to the characters, the Jim and Pam relationship especially. I feel like a lot of people make it their goal to have a relationship like that. Parks and Recreation has a similar thing going, as its first season is a totally different vibe from what it evolved into. Reddit is in love with Ron Swanson, but I feel like if they knew him in real life they would 100% hate him and think he was an asshole. I eat vegan only. I don't know any other vegans, besides my wife, so I spent a couple of weeks on the vegan subreddit. I'll just stick to myself, thanks. I've been vegan for 13 years. I was hired by one of the top-funded vegan sanctuaries in the country to manage one of their properties. It sounded like the dream job. Excellent pay, benefits, surrounded by rescued animals and like-minded people all day. And free vegan food everywhere. It was quite literally the worst experience of my life. I lasted 6 weeks but would have rather quit after 6 hours. Like you said, I'll stick to myself. Guns and cannabis. Did you know you can enjoy something without making it your entire fucking identity? I got both, but fuck yeah. Weed is nearing essential oil levels of buffoonery, and the number of times I've heard just plain bad advice from gun store employees blows my mind. Honestly, why I stopped going to the small shops. I love snakes. I have snakes. Almost every person I've met in real life that has snakes is someone I've not wanted to be around. They think their snakes look badass, and care more about how people look at them when they have their ball python on their shoulders than about actually caring for the animal. Most of these assholes keep their animals in tiny little enclosures that are way too small with no enrichment and feed live prey, despite the risk to the animal, because they think it's fun. They like to take their pets out to scare people and pull stupid shit. I've definitely been a part of online communities that I really enjoy, and I occasionally meet someone that just loves the animals like I do, but for the most part people I meet with reptiles are just trashy assholes. I couldn't agree more. I lost count in how many people tried to correct me for feeding my snowcorn pre-killed prey. They just could not wrap their heads around the idea that it was safer for the snake. Backpacking, camping, vegetarian cuisine. What do you dislike most about the backpacking scene? Tool fans. I love the music, but it's not an identity. An answer I can relate with. Maynard isn't some kind of messiah. He just got really high off of some really good hallucinogens. I find I dislike most media fanbases because everyone's trying to fight each other all the time. It's gotten to the point where I just avoid fandom altogether. As a Christian, Jesus. Underrated comment. As an agnostic, also Jesus. Seems like a great dude. Creepypasta. The original stories tend to suck, but there's some really cool fanfiction out there. If you can avoid all of the perverted, kinky fangirl type stuff. I remember like 5 years ago when the creepypasta subreddits like No Sleep were pretty good. They had a wide variety of stories that were mostly good. Now it's just 20 part, I was raped by my uncle's ghost stories. Rick and Morty. I don't understand this one. I've never met or seen a Rick and Morty fan online be obnoxious and say things like, it's for intellectuals, etc. Kinda just feels like everyone bandwagons on the Rick and Morty fan hate. That's just my experience though. I'm going with Star Wars. I'm a big fan of the universe as a whole, but I cannot stand the Star Wars movie fans. They're literally so toxic that they made an actress quit all social media and seek therapy to deal with the stress of being in Star Wars. Then when the next movie released, they did it to another actress. You should see what they did to Jake Lloyd, the guy who played Anakin as a kid. Online gaming. I have never been a huge gamer, but I enjoyed playing from time to time, so I was never able to find a group. Playing with random 12-yo cheaters and similar just spoils the fun entirely. Some people take shit way too seriously. Like if you have fun by trying your very hardest to win, that's fine, but all the shit talking and smurf accounts and stuff is absurd. Sublime Firearms Marijuana CrossFit. The guns one really annoys me. Most gun owners, you won't even know they own one unless the topic comes up on its own. But all the guys that just carry a rifle around with them in Walmart because they can in their state paints the rest of us in a negative light. Pulp Fiction and Fight Club. Both 10 out of 10 movies that have become so associated with film bros that they're impossible to talk about now. What especially annoys me about Tarantino Bros is that Pulp Fiction isn't half as deep as they claim it to be. It's a fun movie with a great aesthetic and creative direction. There's not much more to it than that. Fun fact. David Fincher deeply regrets making Fight Club because of the fanbase and how much the movie has been misunderstood. K-pop. Are you talking about the actual Korean fanbase? 'Cause I've read and heard how judgmental they can be and how some idols can be driven to a fucked up mental state because of fanbase expectations. Stand-up comedy. The fans are not the show, the comic is. Stop trying to interact. Also, the comic is playing up any sort of negativity or perceived asshole traits. It's because it is part of the show. It's exaggerated for comedic reasons. Being like that in real life doesn't make you the person on stage. It just makes you look out of touch with reality. Punk rock. I love the genre but always found much of the subculture to be quite elitist, full of hypocrisy and stuck in the past. A lot of "this is not real" punk comments. Like, dude, IDCI just like the music, let me enjoy it. Rainbow Six Siege. One of the best games I've played in ages, but if you even dare make one mistake, you're bound to be shot in the back of the head by a teammate. I used to play that game with an ex of mine too, and every time she spoke she was non-stop spammed with sexual messages 'cause she was a girl. The game takes so much knowledge to be able to play properly, and if you don't know every strat, someone is bound to get pissed off at you for not knowing the game. Every time you get killed the chat will probably be spammed with how bad you are. And the list goes on. It is the most toxic game I have ever played. But I still love it. Teslas. Dude, I didn't know this was a thing, until a couple I am friends with recently purchased one. Suddenly they're incredibly pretentious about it. I haven't looked into it much, but I bet there's a subculture of Tesla owners like this. Attack on Titan, from harassing the animators at Mappa when an episode doesn't look exactly how they imagined it, to spoiling anime onlys for no reason. It's really sad to see. Attack on Titan is next up on my anime watchlist after I finish Evangelion. Sounds like I need to avoid the AOT subreddit. I know your question is probably targeted more toward media products, but I have a slightly different answer. Guns. I enjoy shooting and training with them, but I can't friggin' stand like 99% of gun people. I hate going into gun stores and hearing their stupid opinions. I hate how most of the common knowledge in the space is basically a collection of dumb antiquated crap that was thought up in the 60s by people with very little supporting evidence, yet everyone holds it up like some kind of sacred truth. I used to be heavily involved in the industry and ducked out after a few years because of the general toxicity of the people. As a left-leaning pragmatist, I've always felt the same. Nothing wrong with having guns for sport, hunting, or collecting. But when fear of "libtards are gonna take my guns" leads to hoarding weapons every time black people protest or a Democratic president is elected, then maybe you've gone too far. Harry Potter. Love Harry Potter. The fan base is fine from what I remember, but when a friend found out I didn't burn or throw away any of my Harry Potter merch or books, they flipped the fuck out. Star Trek. So many fans love to hate on it and invoke lazy writing, too politically correct, or bad science. And it's like, that's how the franchise has always been. Star Trek was never The Martian. People complaining about something being too politically correct has always baffled me. The point of political correctness is to not be a dick. The band Nirvana. I own physical copies of all their albums and they had a major influence in me and my taste, but the fanbase constantly argues about what makes you a real fan, and treats Kurt Cobain like he's a fucking god. I love him and his music, but these guys take it to a whole other level. My Hero Academia. I love the show. My god, the fans are toxic. I think being a girl and into anime is a problem in itself, but MHA fans are so much worse. I've had guys give me random purity tests because they don't believe I'm a real fan. I also went to con dressed as Uraraka once. I've never felt so uncomfortable in my life. I'm cool with people asking for pictures. But the random creep shots, groping, and stalking was horrible. One guy even followed me into the ladies' room. Another guy followed me back to my hotel room. Women always seem to be required to prove their fandom in ways that men aren't. MMA. It takes a lot of courage to go get beat up in front of millions. The least you could do is respect them and not talk so much shit. Just get up. Not everyone is Derek Lewis, bro. That's a sport, it's not real fighting. Like my art. And you've sparred how much? Bruh, they are faking that. Knees to the head are not that bad. He is being a wuss. Aw yes, I eat knees from pro fighters to THR face for breakfast. Bro, he is scared in there. You ever get in there? No? Okay. Yay, it's a pain being a fan sometimes. Wrestling. You'll never find a group of people who hate and love it as much as them, lol. Cycling. I love it, but some cyclists are just utter pricks, give the rest of us a bad name. Some, though not all, weekend warrior types in large groups strike me to be the worst. Bro, yes. Some of the most elitist cocks I've ever witnessed. Down to berating someone for having a kickstand on their bike. I'm bisexual, but I hate the LGBT community. It's just really toxic, especially on Tumblr and Twitter. There are people who flat out say that my people shouldn't be included in the community, and it caused me to hate being a part of it. The LGBT community, apparently I am not part of it. But I've seen instances of bisexual people not being included for some reason. Star Wars, absolutely. The fanbase is unbearable. To be honest, I don't even understand how most of them even consider themselves fans, considering they rant and rave about hating everything. Metalheads. I love listening to metal, but there's a lot of toxic negative people in the community. There's so much fighting over subgenres, and every band is shit, until their stuff becomes 15 years old, then suddenly it's loved. So much elitism. I've been a metal fan for like 20 years now, but kinda stopped hanging out with metalheads the past 10. It also doesn't help that as a woman I used to get tested, like, oh, you like X band, can you name their original drummer and entire discography? I just like the music, F off, I'm not trying to prove anything. I think it's because often their entire identity is tied up in it. After adopting a dog, I've come to hate other dog owners. From what I've seen, there are a lot of people who own dogs that just absolutely should not own a dog. Or have any pets at all. Cooking, baking. A lot of people are very dogmatic about how foods need to be prepared a certain way, or how this type of pan is the only one you should be using, or if you're using X ingredient instead of Y, you're doing it wrong. Smash Bros. The community is largely gatekeeping nerds who argue about what characters deserve to be in the game instead of enjoying the ones that already are. And once you get into the esports side of things, a lot of players have been outed as seriously sick fucks. We hardly deserve Sakurai's hard work and dedication to the series. LARP. In high school, I was known as a martial artist and sword fighter. One day, a guy the first barely knew offered me to be part of an association about medieval reenactment and LARPing. I didn't know what LARP was, but I was down. I was thus one of the founding members of this association. LARP, even though it can look completely silly, is a very fun and cool activity. It's really an excellent pastime. Once you're in your role, it's nothing but fun. However, the population doing LARP is composed in large part of uncultured, conceited, dumb, gross neckbeards that think the reason why they had no friends in high school was because they did Dungeons and Dragons on Saturday, whereas the true reason is that they were idiotic, weird creeps that should shower more often. LARP gets a lot of flack. Externally from everyone who doesn't know how much fun it is, and internally from the power trippers who make their own brand of rules specifically to cover the gaps in their skill. If I have to stab someone 3 times in the back for them to die, I shouldn't have to wait 5 seconds between each hit. Reddit. 21 pilots. Truly some talented dudes, but their fanbase makes me wanna die. Yeah, this fake clique thing is WTF. Like they think you can't only enjoy their music, you have to know every single detail about them or you are not a true fan. Jesus. He seemed like such a nice pacifist hippie dude. But will you just look at his fanbase? My favorite part of the holidays is watching white American Christians who hate immigrants, refugees, people of color, anyone from the Middle East, and poor people who preach against wealth. Worship a brown immigrant poor Middle Eastern refugee baby who will grow up to preach against wealth. Rick and Morty Star Wars Jesus. Jesus fans are the worst, I agree. My Little Pony. I just like that there's wholesome stories in a cute art style. I hate that there's so much weird shit out there about it. Beat me to it. Like, how does a matriarchal constitutional monarchy based on love and tolerate have so many fascist, sexist, one step shy of neo-Nazi fanboys? Undertale. They've calmed down a lot since 2014-2015. Trust me, our Undertale is really nice. Puts on flame-resistant clothing. Firearms. I was in the military and grew up hunting. Had a concealed carry license since 21 and shot amateur competition events. I hate the group that thinks they are resisting or proving a point by open carrying. Taking a AR to a protest is beyond retarded. Bump stops, binary triggers are retarded. They all wear 5.11 gear and pretend to be something they aren't. First things out of their mouth when I meet them. I almost joined the military. I can't for the life of me what rational person would be against a waiting period for a weapon. Also the ability to lose it if you do something stupid. Have your day in court, proven guilty or mental incompetent, say bye-bye. I hate the internet influencers like the Manspot who've never been in the military but always promote their tactical bullshit and live and train and talk like they have been. Garfield. The stupid Garfield and I'm sorry John memes seem to be more popular than the main franchise. I wish there was more wholesome fan content instead, and memes that aren't the same joke over and over. It's like if the Sonic fanbase got reduced to a Ugandan knuckles circle jerk. I consider the Garfield fanbase and the I'm Sorry John fanbases to be two separate things tbh. Star Wars. I've been a fan since seeing Star Wars in 1977 as a kid. I have my issues with some of the movies, the OT will always be my favorite, but I love the franchise overall and want to see as many movies or series as they are willing to make. But the fans are terrible. It's a multi-generational fanbase and each generation has its terrible fans. Attacking each other for liking or disliking a movie or series, constant gatekeeping, and worst of all attacking actors for the characters they play. It's a very true saying, nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.